So there are hundreds of functional lab tests out there, and it's really overwhelming if you're trying to figure out which ones to order that you can get to the root cause of your symptoms. When I have clients come on, there are 6 tests in my healing program that I use that everybody takes because these tests just give me the most amount of information and the minimal amount of tests so that you're not spending thousands of dollars just in testing. But it is also important to test because if you don't test, you don't know what's going on. It's never a good idea to be chasing symptoms and guessing based on symptoms because symptoms are very elusive. You know, one person could have the same symptom as you do, and you both have different root causes, and you could actually have more than one root cause for the same symptom too. So it can be a damaging thing to be taking things guessing based on symptoms. So we always test. And the 3 that I start with right off the bat, I call our functional lab tests foundation. So these 3 tests are just provide that immediate information right away that we need to get started to get your body to begin to rebuild itself and repair itself. So these 3 tests are the genetics test. This is from Ancestry. It's just a $100 test. It's not very expensive. It gives us a lot of information. And it's one that doesn't expire either. So if you've ever had an Ancestry test done, you can still just log into your account and get the raw data, and it's not going to change. We look at that one. The organic acids test is the next one. The organic acids test is an amazing test. It gives so much information, and it's really sad that you don't often hear of it, and doctors won't order it, and insurance won't pay for it because it really does provide a whole bunch of information. So it's a metabolite test. So it measures anything your body's breaking down and excreting through your urine. It is a urine test, but it can show us things like mitochondrial function, mold, yeast, bacteria, nutrient deficiencies, neurotransmitters. This is super important. I'd like to start with the brain. So I look at the neurotransmitters with the genetics and the organic acids test together. It's important to put those 2 together to get a clear picture of what's happening in your brain. It's important to balance that out because the brain is the master controller of your body, right? And if that's not functioning well, then nothing will because it's in control of everything. And so we start with that. And then the next thing I really like to look at is your detox pathways, and I can find that information with the genetics and the organic acids test as well. Detox pathways, I don't think are talked about enough. Our pathways are bogged down because there's so many more toxins than there ever has been before. We're getting it in our food, in our clothes, in our like healthcare products, in our cleaning products, in the air we breathe with the 5G. There's just so much, and our bodies are miraculous, but they can only do so much, right? We have burdened them down. So we really need to focus on making sure that you are detoxifying well. And we can look into that with both the genetics and the organic acids test. And then the third foundational test is full blood work. And when I say full blood work, I'm talking full blood work. Like if you go to your doctor and get a full blood work, there's going to be things missing. And so like I like to look at a full thyroid panel, not just TSH. That doesn't tell us enough information. We need the free and total T3 and T4. We need the antibodies. We need the reverse T3. We need to look at all of those to get a clear picture of what's happening with your thyroid, but not just thyroid. I mean, the blood work is going to tell us, kidney function, liver function, cholesterol, more nutrient markers like your vitamin D or B12. Those are important, but then also something called the homocysteine. This is something that's overlooked in the medical community as well. It gives us a good picture of what's happening with your methylation cycle, which is part of your detoxification process, and it's very important, and it's an important marker. It's something that needs to be in range before we would even consider moving on to like gut work later in the program. So those 3 tests are amazing. They give so much information. And then when all those results come back, then I look at everything together. I put those 3 together and I will come up with a protocol. And then I give your body 30 days to implement that protocol and start to use it because it's not like it's a pharmaceutical, right? Where you take it and then the next day it's going to work. These are like tools and nutrients and things the body needs to just begin to repair itself. And that does take time. It takes a long time for you to get sick, and it's going to take some time for your body to undo that and start to heal. So after the 30 days, then we would move on to our sex hormone test. I like to use the Dutch. I'm not familiar with any other test that measures metabolites. This is really important when it comes to hormones because if you are not metabolizing your hormones, then you should not be taking them. A lot of times people will go in and they'll do a saliva test and they'll do a blood test and they'll say, oh, your progesterone levels are low. And so now they're taking progesterone. And even if it's a bioidentical form, that can be harmful if you're not metabolizing them well. So always check to make sure that you're metabolizing before you start taking more hormones. That one will also tell us adrenals, how your adrenals are functioning too, and then also some nutrient deficiencies. So that's a really good test. And then if everything is good, like if we need to retest some things now, we would do that. Like I need your homocysteine in a certain range. I want your thyroid functioning well. We might have to do some retests. And if you're not getting better, if those values aren't getting better from the protocol, then sometimes we do have to run like a methylation panel to see what further needs to be done. So that doesn't happen very often. Usually people respond well to the protocols and their body does start to begin to repair itself relatively quickly too. It's kind of surprising how just even giving it the right nutrients will make it all of a sudden start working again. Amazing. So after that, then we can move on to gut work. And a lot of times people are feeling better and they don't necessarily want or need to move on to gut work, but they do need to. I do recommend moving on to gut work regardless, even if you're feeling better, because the first test that we run is a parasite, protozoa, and pathogen test. And protozoa, almost everyone has them. And that can cause a lot of dysfunction and harm in your body. And so why not just go through and make sure that that's good? I've never seen a test come back where people did not have at least protozoa. So, but the thing with gut work, and this is interesting because with me, I didn't know this when I first started having gut issues. I went to a medical doctor and I took a stool test and it came back with nothing. It was negative. Well, it was a false negative because I didn't know that those things can hide in a biofilm, right? It's like a matrix and it hides in there. And so A, it won't show up on tests, but B, it also makes it really hard to kill them. So I would put you on a biofilm buster for 2 weeks before we do that first test. And the test that I use for that is Parawellness. It's a smaller company and they do a great job. It's very thorough. And so when that comes back, and it's always positive for something, we do a 3-month protocol with that, and I switch out the antimicrobials so that there is no resistance that built up. And so once that's done, then we'll do a retest with a GI map. And that will test to make sure we got rid of that those protocols all worked, that we got rid of the parasites, pathogens, protozoa. Say that 3 times fast, all those P's. And then it also will show if you have like H. pylori and anything that's happening like dysbiosis or different bacteria that's overgrown. SIBO can be a thing. And if that's indicating SIBO and you still have some symptoms that would be indicating SIBO, then we would need to do a SIBO breath test. The breath test is the most accurate on that, but not everybody needs that. That's just a possibility of an extra thing. So then we move on to like heavy metal detoxification too. So it's a very comprehensive program. The 6 tests are absolutely essential to get you through, get your body, figure out what it needs, get it what it needs, and start to heal. And so if you're struggling with your health, maybe have your practitioner order these tests and see if you can get to the bottom of it. If you are looking for a practitioner to work with, just go to my website at www.breakthroughintegrativehealing.com. There's a button on there. If you click on work with me, you can sign up for a 30-minute free assessment call. And so we can just jump on a Zoom and go over your symptoms and see if this is something that would be a good fit for you.